Hi there, this is Boris. Welcome to another video episode of Drawing Lessons from Comics. So this is a series that I've created a playlist where I just go through comics that I bought and sort of go through how they approach drawing, how they approach storytelling. So today we're going to look at Sweet Tooth from Vertigo. Unfortunately, Vertigo just went out of business, if I'm not mistaken. Sweet Tooth is by Jeff Lemire. So this is volume one. If you can, so I can show that. So I made some sort of important notes that we'll look at. So let's get to it. So the first thing that I notice when I open is so I think it's like a conscious choice is to make like the face not symmetrical, because when you're drawing, like people automatically make everybody handsome, all the faces symmetrical, and I think especially with a character like this. And by the way, like this is not going to spoil anything because that's why I marked a few certain pages so that I can go to those pages and so you have to read the book if you really want to get the whole story. And it's a really great story, I have to admit. And for those who follow the news in entertainment, Robert Downey Jr. Has decided, so it's rumored, I don't know if it's confirmed, but it's rumored that he has decided to produce a movie based on Sweet Tooth, on this graphic novel series. Um, so, so the first thing I noticed is like, yeah, nice. And actually maybe this will be again one of the first lessons, which is if you want to make a character more interesting, like make the face not symmetrical. Now, so when we get to like the first thing, I also noticed like the second time when we see the character, he's also the face is also not symmetrical. But there is a cover here, like an interior cover, where it is symmetrical. So maybe this was drawn by another artist, I'm guessing. So, and he just drew it symmetrical. But I think the creator, Jeff Lemire, I think wanted it to be a little bit more, non-symmetrical. The next point, next page that stood out to me was this page where they show the passage of time. And so again, I really love when creators, of course, comic creators, try to do interesting things with panels, right? So for example, here the panel border, he just covered it with these sort of like vines, or I don't know how to call this, like vegetation. And so, because you're reading from left to right, like you see the seasons passing, and you see the tree without the leaves here in winter, and then you see the leaves here in spring, and then you have these, these panels that lead you to the page turn. So I thought that was a really interesting way. Again, which is really strange. I think he's drawing here, for example, his face is symmetrical. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving too much credit for him. So next one here that I noted was the cast shadow. So a little, I mean, if you don't know, cast shadow is so when you're drawing, people talk about form shadow and cast shadow. So for example, form shadow, for example, if you look at my hand, this side is facing away from the light, so there is form shadow. And so if I put my hand like this, like the cast shadow, which means um, the shape, the silhouette of my hand cutting the light, and it's like being reflected on the surface, right? So that's cast shadow. So this is cast shadow, and this is form shadow. Okay. So cast shadow, I just noted that it was interesting here that to show some sort of texture, he made it shaped like the grass. So I thought that was, that's something that I did in my webcomic Helping Zombie, which is on Webtoon. So I just thought, like, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So next point is, so I noted here that this might be an image influence, like image comics influence, because like especially Todd McFarlane, if you look at, and actually I have some um, Spawn, but maybe not by McFarlane. I have some Spawn drawn by Greg Capullo, but this sort of influence, I think a lot of artists mention is an image influence where you see the big character on the side, especially on like a profile shot, and then you have like small panels on the side, and so I thought that was interesting too. Um, the other thing that I noticed was the for the shirt. I think actually, if you notice, even the in the cover of the shirt, the plaid shirt that he's wearing, it's well, you if you want to make it a little bit more believable, like for example, his shoulder. So it's so the shirt is covering his shoulder, right? So it should take the form of the shoulder. But so this is when I notice. I think this is when I know that he's using digital to do this, or at least digital coloring. So this is like a they just took like an overlay and then just put that plate on that. So they could have done it. They would have given a little bit more dimension to the, but you know, it tells the story. Next one is a fight scene. So I really love these. Again, always try to show some. Let me bring the phone a little bit closer, so then I can move my comic book. So I really love the fact that they show the impact like this, and I thought that was like bringing the eye towards that. And the other thing that I noticed is, again, every medium has pros and cons. So in movies, you can sell a fight scene with the pacing, like the rhythm. In comics, at least as far as I've seen from my experience, it's really difficult to do that. And most of the time, okay, in this case, it's pretty clear, and I think I appreciate that the action is clear. But in some comics, like because they are jumping from one panel to another and they change camera angles, sometimes like you don't really know what's going on. But here, it's very clear. And the other thing is, when it comes to like action scenes, for example, in this scene, I just took the second note that I took on this was it's too short. Like it just like in once like it starts here and then it's just like with like these like four panels, it just ends, or five panels if you include like this one, and then it just ends. You know, I mean, yes, of course, it continues here where he's shooting at this guy, but again, so for example, this I think is really well accomplished, which is like you see these frame, like sort of these panels with the same length of frame. It looks like you're looking at something like a animation cells or like slides, and I really like that. I think I'm going to jump ahead a lot. So this, in terms of, we were speaking about camera movement and action scenes. So this, a lot of people do this. I really love this. And I think this is one of the things that you can do in comics, I think can be accomplished. Yes, you can do this in movies, but I don't know if it will have the same effect because what else? Like, again, another creative layout. So here again, like it's driving your eye towards this way, right? Which I think is not. I mean, I think this page separately it works best, but actually it's really strange because if the if the panels drive here and then it drives to this panel, but then I don't know, you have to go back and read this. So I think this page is great, but this page I don't think it really. But actually, yeah, it really sort of censors what he actually did to this guy's head, right? So, and yeah, I think this is interesting. Onomatopoeia, it's always interesting how the creator hears that sound. So thunk, yeah, I think it's a really great one. Um, I'm going to say something about action lines, and I think the onomatopoeia, I feel like it is also, at least me, like, so I'm learning this and I'm starting to apply this also for my comics, um, is the fact that sometimes just showing the impact and not putting the onomatopoeia, I think it's a little bit better, in my opinion, because the audience can interpret the sound, like they can sort of hear the sound in their head, I think. Whereas if you put onomatopoeia that, for example, let's say you're reading a European comic and they hear a different sound, so it might like sort of break the illusion. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but um, so this is something that I've also started noticing, which is how artists draw rain, and it almost looks like, yeah, like spears into the. But it's really great. Like, it's there's nothing here, and then there's a like drought, and then, yeah, I think it's a really great um, rain here. So yeah, speaking of action lines, so for example, here they're falling, and here, like in some cartoons, like they would have put action lines, but I think the action lines are make things too cartoony, I think. And even though they sort of let you know, like in which direction they're flying or in which direction they're moving, same like onomatopoeia, which is um, I think not putting action lines actually really can, I think. So, and then, but you have to be talented enough, which is a point that I'm still working on, which is you have to be talented enough to show the weight of the figure, like weight of the body. Like, for example, if the body is falling down, you have to show the weight of the figure, um, which is, I think, takes a long time to learn. Another creative layout as he passes out, and they say that sometimes when you pass out, you see these images, and so it's really great that as he's passing out, we show what the other character is doing to the people who attack them. And just like I like looking at rain, how different artists interpret rain. I also like when how how artists interpret tears. So again, this is one of the things that you can do in comics, which you can exaggerate, and it still works within that world that the comics creates for you. Um, so, so for example, here, like, okay, they've just done clear lines with some blue, like really light blue on top of it to represent water, the tears, I guess. Yeah, and yeah, so it's really great. So these are things that I've noticed, I guess. Um, Again, like I said, I really recommend it. This is just volume one. I think I'm going to buy volume two. So I bought this because I went to a used bookstore and I found this, and um, I've heard about this. I've heard about Jeff Lemire, so I just want to give it a shot, and it's really great. And I have to read more, and I hope to look at more comics. So let me know what you thought. Let me know how if you're a comics creator, how you approach it in drawing. And until next time, this is Boris for Sketchman Draws, signing off.